When the police finally stormed in, they shouted, "Raise your hand if you're alive." And then, of course, the law enforcement members, the coroner and medics, having to sift through 50 bodies on the floor and another 50 injured as cell phones of the deceased continued to ring throughout the morning and throughout the day.
The shooter targeted a nightclub where people came together to be with friends, to dance and to sing and to live. The place where they were attacked is more than a nightclub. It is a place of solidarity and empowerment where people have come together to raise awareness, to speak their minds, and to advocate for their civil rights. So this is a sobering reminder that attacks on any American, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, or sexual orientation, is an attack on all of us and on the fundamental values of equality and dignity that define us as a country. And no act of hate or terror will ever change who we are or the values that make us Americans.
That was President Obama yesterday afternoon speaking from the White House, of course, calling for more gun control in the wake of the Orlando attack, which was echoed yesterday afternoon and again today by presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, who renewed a call for gun control following the deadliest mass shooting in our nation's history. Edwin Walker is an attorney with the U.S. Law Shield, one of America's leading voices on Second Amendment issues. USLawShield.com is their website. Edwin, good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Probably no surprise that there's going to be a more scrutiny on how easily or not the shooter was able to obtain his weapons, whether they were obtained legally, which apparently they were, and whether or not there should be stricter gun control on the ability to obtain weapons like he did.
Yeah, well, the gun control advocates, they use every mass shooting. They'll use it as as an impetus to ask for more gun control. And obviously, more gun control comes in two types of varieties. Either you restrict the people who have access to firearms, or you restrict the actual firearms. And both of those approaches are fraught with problems where, America's built on a system where we value liberty and we value due process. And the thing about it is if you declare an entire group of inanimate objects to be illegal, you're restricting people's liberty to possess that item. And believe me, millions and millions of people, including myself, possess firearms of all types, including AR-style rifles. It's definitely a misnomer when the media refers to them as assault rifles because they are not assault rifles. These AR rifles, neither the owners nor the rifles themselves have ever murdered anybody. And then with regard to restricting the access of certain individuals, what qualifications are you going to make? The law has made certain value judgments, and since we are a society that values due process, the law has said, look, if you have objectively reached a certain level, have reached some sort of circumstance that creates a record that we can verify, therefore you do not have the right to purchase a firearm from a federal firearms dealer. And those are people who are convicted of felonies, people who are convicted of misdemeanors involving domestic violence, and people who are have mental issues to the degree that they've actually been adjudicated as having a mental problem.
Well, in this particular case, Edwin, this guy was under investigation by the FBI on two separate occasions for reported links to terror and was also investigated for domestic violence. It seems like that's a three-strike rule against this guy. Look, I made sure when I left my apartment this morning that I had my pistol with me. I'm a relatively new CCW holder, but I made sure that I had my gun with me following today, and I've had it with me every day since obtaining that license. But that doesn't mean that at some point maybe we don't look at people a little bit more closely. My background check took all of, I swear, 30 seconds. I know that even with great technology, you're able to see a lot of things through the computer and do an instant background check. But this guy is somebody where there should have been a red flag wave somewhere along the way if he's buying 3 guns in a row following his history.
Well, the thing about it is that the people who are responsible for turning that history into an actual objectively verifiable record, there either wasn't enough evidence or they didn't follow through. If he had a history of family violence, then his spouse should have reported him to the police. If he was adjudicated,
She did.
even for a misdemeanor, well, then the police may have found that there wasn't enough evidence to proceed on that particular case. But that's the thing about it is that if you have a rule that said, look, just the mere accusation can take away your right to buy a firearm, that's going to work millions of injustices out there. And that's why the standard is that there has to be some sort of objective due process finding that they committed, that a person committed the acts that they're accused of.
And I'm not saying that a simple accusation should forbid you from owning a firearm, but maybe it should slow down the process a little bit so that you can have a physical hands-on investigation and not an automatic computer clearance.
Well, and like I said, the people who are in the best position to step in or to make law enforcement aware that that a person has made threats or a person should be on the list of prohibited people from buying a firearm are the people that actually encounter these things, people that actually observe threats, or that they actually hear that or have fear that somebody's going to hurt themselves or someone else with a firearm. Report them so that due process can kick in and that an actual adjudication can be made as to whether or not this person is a felon, somebody who actually has committed domestic violence instead of just the accusation of domestic violence, or somebody who has lost their mental capacity to the point that they cannot make decisions for themselves. That's why the standard is what it is so that you don't get a rash of people who are disqualified merely on the words or opinions or, suspect accusations of others.
In Florida, where concealed carry permits are allowed, where concealed carry permits are permitted, there is a law, as probably in most states, I know there is one here in Ohio as well, guns are prohibited from businesses who sell alcohol as their primary business, such as the Pulse nightclub. Should that be something that states reconsider to allow concealed carry holders, the good guys with guns, in the establishment, even if there might be alcohol involved?
Well, see, that is that's where really we should be looking, is because guns exist. They are a reality of life here in America. They're a reality of just living in the world. I mean, Paris has got a ban on individuals possessing guns, but the Islamic extremists were able to get their hands on fully automatic weapons, not just the semi-automatic weapons that are available to ordinary folks here in the United States.
So to keep Americans safe, we need more guns, is what you're saying?
Well, we need the ability of people who lawfully possess guns to be in situations where they may have the opportunity to use those guns to protect themselves. You actually played probably the most heartbreaking clip of anything that's come out of this, is that there was a man and several others trapped in a bathroom knowing that the shooter was encroaching on them, knowing that they had no way out, that they were basically trapped. There was 100% chance that they were going to get killed in that bathroom. If one of them had been a concealed handgun license holder, and if one of them would have had a concealed handgun, it would have given them at least a percentage that somebody would have left that bathroom alive. You may say, well, it's a lot of responsibility to put on somebody, and maybe they're nervous, maybe they're not a good shot, maybe they don't have, proper training. Well, those are a lot of what ifs. And even if having a gun gives me a 10% chance of survival, where I would otherwise have a 0% chance of survival, I'll take that 10%.
And just to play devil's advocate, if thousands of Americans were being attacked by wolves every day, the answer would not be more wolves.
Well, I guess if you had a wolf that was trained to defend you against other wolves, I don't know that analogy, actually works, but, people use dogs to protect themselves against wolves. There are wolf attacks, and there are domesticated animals that are designed to fend off wolf attacks. So, humankind is very adaptable to protecting themselves against threats. And humans will protect themselves against threats. But when the government steps in and says, aha, in this particular situation, you're going into it knowing that you do not have the ability to protect yourself. Because even though Florida law, even though Florida has this law that you are not allowed to take a firearm to a place that sells alcohol as their primary source of business, it clearly did not stop this shooter from taking his firearm into that place.
Absolutely. Edwin Walker, USLawShield.com. Appreciate your time. We'll talk soon.
Well, thank you, sir, for having me.
3:31, we'll talk to Kevin Malott. He is a terrorism and global security expert next here on News Radio 1370.